Hello everyone, welcome back to U.S. Military Summary. The F-14 Tomcat and the F-15 Eagle are two of the best and two of the most beautiful fighters ever built. Even if until today a real Tomcat vs Eagle engagement with live weapons fired has never taken place, since the prototypes made their first flights just 2 years apart, comparisons have been made between these two iconic aircraft. But trying to determine which was the better fighter is a pointless exercise. The F-14 Tomcat is a now retired supersonic twin-engine, two-seat fighter aircraft developed for use by the United States Navy. The F-15 Eagle is a twin-engine, all-weather tactical fighter used by the U.S. Air Force. The F-15 was developed as an air superiority fighter. The F-14 is used as an interceptor for air superiority and as a multi-role combat aircraft. It was retired by the U.S. Navy in 2006, but is currently used by the Iranian Air Force. History. The F-14 was developed in the U.S. by Grumman as part of a long-term attempt to develop long-range, high-endurance interceptors to defend carrier battle groups against anti-ship missiles. It was first flown on the 21st December 1970 and was introduced for use by the U.S. Navy in September 1974 to defend aircraft carriers from Soviet bombers carrying long-range cruise missiles. It was exported to Iran in 1976 and was retired from use by the U.S. Navy on September 22, 2006. 2 decades after the Tomcats were glamorized in the 1986 Tom Cruise movie Top Gun. The F-15 was developed as an air superiority fighter with both air-to-air and air-to-ground capabilities. As the planes developed by the U.S. Navy, such as the F-14, were unsuitable for these purposes, the U.S. Air Force spearheaded the FX program, which led to the development of the F-15A. It made its first flight in July 1972. It was introduced in 1976 and was followed by other single-seat and two-seat models with extra fuel capacity and improved radar and engines. Design. The design of the F-14 and F-15 differ in size and weight. The F-14 has a length of 62 feet 9 inches, a spread wingspan of 64 feet, and a swept wingspan of 38 feet. Its loaded weight is 61,000 pounds. On the other hand, the F-15 has a length of 63 feet 9 inches and a wingspan of 42 feet 10 inches. Its loaded weight is 20,000 pounds. These differences in size and weight contribute to the unique capabilities of each aircraft. Cockpit. The F-14 features a bubble canopy, which provides a clear and unobstructed view for both pilots in its 2 seats. This design allows for exceptional all-round visibility, giving the pilots an advantage in situational awareness during flight operations. On the other hand, the F-15's cockpit is located at a higher position in the forward fuselage, providing a better field of view for the pilot. It has a one-piece windshield and large canopy, which also enhances the visibility of the pilot. These features allow for better situational awareness and contribute to the exceptional performance of the F-15 in air-to-air combat situations. Engines. The F-14 was originally equipped with 2 Pratt & Whitney TF-30 turbofan engines, but due to the high percentage of accidents attributed to their use, 28%, they were later replaced by 2 General Electric F-110 engines. On the other hand, the F-15 utilizes 2 Pratt & Whitney F-100 axial flow turbofan engines with afterburners, which are mounted side by side in the fuselage. Armament. The F-14 is capable of carrying a considerable amount of stores with a capacity of over 6,700 kilograms under the fuselage and wings. It is equipped with an internal 20mm M61 Vulcan Gatling type cannon, as well as the ability to carry AIM-54 Phoenix, AIM-7 Sparrow, and AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, along with both laser-guided and unguided bombs. On the other hand, the F-15 can be armed with AIM-7 FM Sparrow missiles, AIM-120 AMRAAM Advanced Medium Range Air-to-Air Missiles, AIM-9 LM Sidewinder Missiles, and an M61A1 20mm Gatling gun. With these weapons, the F-15 is a formidable fighter aircraft with a strong capability to engage in air-to-air combat. Having spent his entire career flying USAF F-15Cs in Europe, Robert Scout Weinbrunner never flew the Tomcat, but during the 1980s, he had the opportunity to fly dissimilar air combat training, DACT, with 6 Fleet F-14s in the Mediterranean. As he explains in issue 13, Grumman F-14 Tomcat of Aviation Classics magazine, innumerable discussions have been made about which was the better fighter. But although both the aircraft replaced the F-4 Phantom, the F-15 and the F-14 were built to satisfy totally different operational requirements. Hence, the two fighters could be more or less effective in the different missions they could have performed because of their respective strength and limitations. For instance, the F-14 was the best aircraft to defend U.S. Navy aircraft carriers against a multiple target engagement. In fact, thanks to its beyond visual range, BVR capabilities, and assisted by E-2C Hawkeyes, the Tomcat could inflict severe losses to an incoming enemy bomber's formation. In fact, in comparing BVR performance, the Tomcat's AWG-9 had true multiple target track and multiple target engagement with the AIM-54 Phoenix, while the Eagle did not gain a multiple target engagement capability until the late 1980s, with the introduction of the AIM-120 AMRAAM. Moreover, as told by Scout, the AIM-7 Sparrow didn't possess the range of the Phoenix, and the Eagle could only get 1 or 2 shots before the merge. So, due to the lack of the multiple target engagement capability, the Eagle was not effective in this role. By contrast, the constant mixing of friendly and enemy aircraft typical of a Central European Defensive Counter-Air (DCA) would have rendered the Phoenix unusable in most of the engagements because of the dynamic environment faced by the fighters. Moreover, the agility deficit of the then TF-30 powered F-14 could have caused problems during the several dogfights that crews could have faced in such a complex scenario. Another role where the Tomcat could be very effective was a sweep mission, where BVR missiles could be freely shot. This would be the case of a sweep ahead of a carrier-based attack package, a kind of mission where the F-14 would have been able to launch its AIM-54s without limitations due to the absence in the area of any friendly aircraft. Actually, the mission would have been also accomplished in the case the enemy aircraft had left the area refusing to engage the Tomcats. On the contrary, Weinbrenner says that in a force protection escort mission, where the fighters cannot commit on hostile until they were within 20 miles, many Phoenix advantages are negated, and the F-15 good maneuverability was needed to better face enemy aircraft. But despite the fact the Eagle's sensors were better to sort out friendlies from enemies, if the BVR rules of engagement, ROE, were so restrictive that visual identification, VID, was required for weapons delivery, the Tomcat armed with Sparrows and Sidewinders was better suited, since it owned the television camera set, TCS, a chin-mounted optical sensor that could be slaved to radar line of sight. So if needed, the F-14 crew could lock onto a target and, if VID was required for the engagement, zooming in with TCS to get a very early look at the potential target. As explained by Scout, the F-15 had nothing like this. It pains me to admit it, but we were flying around with rifle scopes strapped onto the head-up display frame, allegedly bore-sighted, and achieving an early VID was not that easy. Maybe other pilots thought it was great, but I didn't. It was not user-friendly by any stretch of the imagination. So, to the question to which was the better fighter, Weinbrenner answers that depends on the mission, on the ROE, on the threat. And if the F-14 didn't possess the close-range dogfighting agility of the F-15, the Tomcat ability to launch 1,000-pound air-to-air missiles with 135-pound warheads was impressive. And as Scout explains, claiming that a missile is easy to evade is much easier than actually evading it, especially if it is coming at you from above at Mach 5 and you cannot see it. From the late 1980s, both aircraft have received several improvements, So if the F-15C could finally engage multiple target thanks to the introduction of the AIM-120 AMRAAM, the thrust of the General Electric F-110 GE400 turbofans boosted the performance of the F-14B and E models. Nevertheless, as explained by LCDR Joe Smokin' Rizika, who was the Radar Intercept Officer, RIO, to fly the last F-14 demonstration before the Tomcat was retired by the U.S. Navy in 2006. The worst adversary for the F-14 in a mock dogfight remained the F-15C, since the Eagle was more capable in that area than the Tomcat. You have to remember the F-15C has a 9G turning capability versus 6.5 to 7 Gs for the Tomcat. But the F-15C is strictly air-to-air, so there are trade-offs in capabilities between the two jets. They don't drop bombs, we do. Another thing, a lot of success in BFM has to do with the pilot's ability to maximize the jet's capability. Fortunately, the best trained guys who fly the F-15C are on our side.